Hi there, guys. Well, today's lesson from North Bend High School Culinary Arts, and I'm Chef Frank Murphy, is going to be blanching of vegetables. And you might say, well, what's that? This is where you take vegetables, we prep them up, and then we're going to put them into boiling salted water just for 30 seconds. They'll come out of that water straight into cold water to stop the cooking, and then they get set aside. When it comes time for dinner, or service in the case of a restaurant, you would take those vegetables, dunk them into freshly boiled water, again just for a few seconds, onto a saute pan, maybe a little bit of olive oil, salt and pepper, or butter, whatever you like, and straight onto the plate. What you end up with having is really tasty vegetables, ones that still have that al dente, that little bite to them. The color is there, the broccoli is green, the beans are green. They're not that carky, overcooked way that you see so often. And you got the vitamins and everything. One thing that I have found here in the high school is that when I do this for the students the first time, they just lap up all those veggies. They're kind of, a lot of them are kind of surprised that the broccoli tastes so good and stuff. So, that being said, let's get on with it. So one of the things that you're going to need, of course, is your cutting board. I have my bowls. Remember I said it before? I've got an extra one here just because I might want one. But I've got my bowls, one for the beginning product, one for my trim, and the end product. So I'll start by throwing in a bunch of, get my broccoli ready here. And the broccoli is going to be very easy. All you're going to have to do is to take the broccoli. I like to take maybe the tip off it here because it's been cut a little bit a while. And then I'm going to make a simple X. Now you might say, why bother doing that? This is going to let that boiling salted water get into the stem part of your broccoli. The flower part on the top here cooks very fast, and the stem part will cook a lot slower. So in order to try and keep our broccoli together and keep it nice and green and everything, we need to help this part cook, and we do that by putting the X into it. So I'll go along here now and I'll just trim up these guys. A smaller knife might be an idea. I just started the video and realized I didn't have one on my table. But if you're using your French knife, just be a little bit careful here. So I'll just do a few more of these here. And then we'll set these aside and we'll get on and get some of the other vegetables done. And you'll see I'm not going that too far in with the X. I don't want the broccoli to fall apart. But maybe, it's going in there maybe half an inch or so. And there we go. So we have our broccoli. Next on the line, I think, will be our asparagus. Now this asparagus is pretty big. Now I'm going to put the broccoli to the side here. I've got this other tray, kind of help me out here a little bit. On this asparagus here, if you can see, it's kind of dried out a little bit on the bottom there when I got it from the store. So I'm going to just take some of this off here first off. I can line up a bunch of the asparagus nice and easy and just take my knife and just take a little bit off. Now I'm left with this. So as this is going to be on a plate with regular meats and stuff, what I might do is just cut it up a little bit. So I'm going to cut this up in 3 pieces. So I've got the stem part, and we'll throw it into the bowl here. But I've got the floury end, and you've got to be a little bit careful with this. This part takes a little bit of extra cooking than the tips do. And quite often we get asparagus, especially out in restaurants and stuff, where someone maybe hasn't quite taken the care, and this end here is overcooked and it's all fallen off. So we're going to keep this separate. This is going to help us out a little bit. And you'll see what I'll do with that now in a few minutes. Okay, so we'll put that there. Next on our line we have some beans. Now these beans have already been trimmed up. I'm just going to go and check them here for make sure there's nothing odd about them. And they seem to be in good shape. If they have not been trimmed, you want to just take, like this one here, you just take the tip off. You can use your finger with this, no problem. And we go look through, and it looks like the rest of them are in pretty good shape. So we'll put them onto my tray over here. Again, trying to keep everything just nice and tidy. I think I might just put these guys over here as well. So that means our beans, we have our broccoli, and we have our asparagus. Next is cauliflower. Got a nice head of cauliflower here. So I'll need to take the stem off here. I'm going to throw it into our one of our containers here. And that leaves me with the head itself. So if I turn it over, I can take my knife and just kind of put it in here like this and give it a little twist, and that will break the head up a little bit. Now we're not going to need all of this head, so I'll just put that bit aside. Now I could cut this into florets, so I can use my knife, and if I get this out of the way, you may be able to see there. I'm just going to take off the little florets here. I said I can break them off with my fingers, or I can just take the knife and gently just go in and separate them out. And we got a little mark there on one, so I'll just trim that back there. And just like the broccoli, I'm going to take the knife and I'm going to make little X's, just like this. And this is doing exactly the same thing as what was happening with the broccoli. I'm going to put that X in there, and that's going to allow the boiling salted water to get in there to cook this part quicker, so that the floury part on the outside does not get overcooked. So we got our cauliflower there. Put on my tray, make things nice and tidy for myself. Now, last one, some carrots. So I'll get to show you here. Got a little bit of stuff on my board here, and look, I'm using the towel that I have. I'm cleaning as I go. You might remember in some of those other videos I was saying, clean as you go. It's going to make life a lot easier for you. And by the way, this blanching is a big piece of Lego. So it's something that you want to take note of and practice a bit. So, got a carrot. Going to top and tail it. And then I'm going to give this a peel. Now, one thing about cooking is, and a lot of people forget, we eat with our eyes first. And what I mean by that is, as you go over and you go to sit down at a table, maybe it's a restaurant, maybe it's at home or whatever, and you look at something and you see it, you immediately decide on whether it's going to taste any good, just from the look. And then you take in the smell, etc., and the taste and the flavor, and you decide from there. But our first thing is that we see it first, and we use our eyes. So make sure that everything that you do, you kind of think of it from that point of view. So when I cut up this carrots here, I want to do some julienne, because I want the color, and this color is going to go well with the rest of those vegetables. I'm making sure that they're all about the same length. And then from before, with the knife skills, remembering, keeping that knife up against your fingers and stuff, I'm going to cut and make this kind of squared off a little bit, okay? Just kind of trim a little bit on the edges. Do another little bit here. And I had the fortune, I guess, of working with some great chefs when I was training, and in some great hotels. One comes to mind would be Kelly's Hotel in Rosslare. And we used to pay a lot of attention to our vegetables, making sure that they tasted good and they looked good. Okay, so now I'm going to cut some strips. These are a little over, or as close as I can to about 1/8 of an inch. Watching my fingers all the time, keeping my board clean and tidy. Making sure I get those pieces nice and even and straight. This does take a little bit of practice. There we go there. And now, I'll move this back, because remember, I work from left to right. I'm going to start cutting them down into strips. And I'm looking for 1/8 of an inch again, okay? Now if you want to get crazy or whatever you want to say, you can stack a couple of them together. I can remember working or being in college in Rockwell Hotel School. Chef McCann, Chef Orange, and we would be doing julienne, and they would literally come along with a measure, a ruler, and make sure that everything was correct. And if it was too thick or too long or too short or whatever, you had to do everything all over again. They didn't let you away with nothing. Okay, so carrots are basically done here, almost done. Mark on that one. And I have a nice julienne, okay? So we'll put this into a bowl. So what I have here, let's go back to my tray, some broccoli, X'd. I've got my asparagus, and I've got the tips here, separate. I've got my cauliflower with the X's in there. I have my julienne of carrot, and I've got my beans. So next thing is I'm going to get the pot of water ready. It's going to be boiling salted water. I'll switch over to one of our induction stoves and set it up here, and I'll be with you in a second, okay? Thanks.